the CRA meeting of September 9th. We'll begin tonight's meeting with an invocation by Board Member Hay, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Board Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking for your guidance, for your wisdom, and for your support as we begin this meeting. We pray especially for our sick and our shut-in. Especially we thank you for bringing former member Mark Carrageorge back with us. He's here tonight. Bless him in a special way. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion this afternoon. Fill us with your grace. We ask that you help us to make the decisions properly that will affect the students and parents and citizens and friends of this great city of Boynton Beach. And continue to remind us that all that we do here this evening will be accomplished in support and pursuit of the joy that we bring to your name. For the service of humanity, and we ask it all in your name, we pray. Let all God's people say, Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you for the invocation. We have roll call, please.
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Yes.
Here. Thank you. First item is under legal consideration of policy on preliminary discovery of requiring all such defendants to file the fact information sheet. Turn this to the attorney.
Hi there. Yes, this first issue is with regard to collecting on final judgments that we are able to get with regard to enforcing promissory notes of the CRA. The question that we have and where we need guidance from the board is, after we receive the final judgments on these promissory notes, the court orders the debtors to file a fact information sheet which sets forth their current financial status, assets, etc., which allows the collector to understand where they may and how they may collect on the judgment. The question that we need direction on is, in several instances, at least two that we have currently, the debtors have failed to file this sheet, which is required to be filed by the court. And we need direction from the board as to how far you would like us to go in requiring the debtors to file the fact information sheet. One option that is not costly or time consuming that we would recommend is for us to file an ex parte motion to compel, which would just reinforce the court's requirement that the fact sheet get filed in the case. The reason we recommend it is if there are instances where the debtor may have resources, it would be good information for the CRA to have before it made any future decisions about following up on collecting on the final judgments.
Okay, well, I like that as first option, at least to start there. I think
Motion
we need
to compel.
push the court. Yeah. You make a motion to do that?
Motion to accept from legal and returns a motion to compel.
The motion is second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion unanimous. Thank you. Next item is discussion of guidance for handling public records requests.
Yes, this was an item that we obtained from the Florida League of Cities on just a quick guidance on how public agencies should handle public records requests. We distributed it to staff for their benefit. Public records are always a cumbersome request, and we thought it was a useful piece of information, so we've submitted it for your consideration as well.
And just for your knowledge, all of the staff got a copy of this, and so they understand when somebody comes in how to handle a public records request.
What do you need from us?
From us.
Nothing, just so you know that we're dealing with it and we're
Motion to no.
Motion to no.
Okay.
Knowledge accepted.
Thank you. We accept the discussion.
Is this a standard procedure? I mean, this is like through all agencies, or is this something that we've made up ourselves, or is this a standard through the industry?
This is a document that was prepared by the Florida League of Cities based on the public records law.
Okay.
So it's consistent with the public records law, and it's just meant to be a quick reference guide. If there are any complicated issues, it would still bear further look.
Thank you.
Okay. Item C is report on the CRA sunset date. Vivian, did you want to comment on that?
I think this is really a legal issue. This is under
Okay.
legal, so I'm going to let Tara handle this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Several months ago, staff had asked us to look into the question of when this CRA would sunset. In doing that research, we began with the statute that governs the CRA. And the first thing of note here is that the CRA statute does not have a provision in it that says CRAs will sunset on blank date. The way that a sunset date is determined is by reading the entire statute together. And there are provisions with regard to redevelopment trust funds, the required contents of a redevelopment plan, and the bonding capacity of the CRA that, when read together, give an inference of when the CRA must have its business done. So in doing this research, it was our opinion that the CRA would expire no later than the last amendment of the boundary of the CRA, which occurred in many, many years. Just to be thorough, because the statute isn't clear, and when the statute isn't clear, you of course look at the courts and the case law. There is no case law on this. This has not been decided by a court. We reached out to the Florida Redevelopment Association to see what and if they had handled this issue before. And in that conversation, we received in August a draft memo that had been put together by the Florida League of Cities attorney and the Florida Redevelopment Association attorney that took a very restrictive interpretation of one provision of the statute that could be read to say that the CRA sunsets on the 30th fiscal year following the adoption of the first redevelopment plan, which for this CRA would be September 30th, 2014. We do not agree with that interpretation as applied to this CRA. The memo wasn't specific to Boynton, which has different issues with regard to when it was founded and being in a charter county that was not a charter county when it was formed. So our recommendation, given the existence of this opinion, is that we take steps this month to adopt a time certain in our redevelopment plan to complete our work to eliminate any question of this issue heretofore.
Okay. Board Member Merker.
I also did some homework, and I spoke to, I think her last name is Waldenberg, or from the state in Tallahassee. What I found interesting was the inconsistency of the FRA. They don't have a written outline, don't have a charter in the sense to define it for everybody throughout the state, let alone through each county. So I questioned her on this, and she said to me, well, there's always, let me phrase it this way, someone or group trying to go after the FRA. So I said to her, I said, common sense says to me, then there should be a common law that regulates, but there isn't. And so I look at it that if we are to follow the guidelines, unfortunately, statewide, the guidelines aren't consistent and don't dot the I and cross the T. So the mishap, the conflict, the issue that arose is not necessarily our city's fault. It's the state itself that can't define what should be and should not be. So.
Okay, I think, go ahead, Board Member McRae.
Thank you, sir. I'm not in favor of sunsetting the CRA for this month at 2014 because it goes back that the commissioners, we have the obligation, the opportunity that we could sunset at any time that we get ready. The reason I don't want it sunset right now is because we have too many things on the table and too many items that we have going forward. And my recommendation would be that we sunset it in 2014.
44.
2044.
Right.
Thank you.
And
Board member,
can I offer one bit of clarification?
Sure.
The action we're recommending that you take will clarify your time certain. It does not impact the existence of the CRA. It's a big housekeeping item, so I don't want to minimize the importance of it, but does not affect or implicate sunsetting the CRA today. What we're advising is that you take steps to eliminate any question about that, and if at some later date you want to talk about sunsetting, I agree, that is a discussion for another time.
yeah, I got it from your backup.
Just for clarification, what I think you're saying, or myself understanding, is whatever we do today, if the CRA of Boynton Beach still wants to eliminate, it can be done at any time.
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
But Buchanan?
Yes, I agree with Board Member McCray. I think we should sunset it, leave it sunset where it is. It can be sunset by the City Commission whenever. So I think we should go along with business as usual.
Is there a motion to approve the...
I want to jump
Go
into
ahead.
it. First and foremost, this has been brought to your attention since March, but I'm reading some of Vivian's email here, and she's got a line here that says this one is not urgent, but I kind of disagree with that. My question is why we're waiting to the 24th hour to do this. We could have been legally sunsetted at the end of this month, the 30th, if we didn't continue to push this issue. And that concerns me a little bit. As our legal representation, you should be on top of this. The minute it was asked of you back in March through these emails here, it should have been looked at. And this should have been all hashed out way before the 24th hour. It makes us look kind of incompetent up here when this comes down to the last minute deals like this. And as our legal representative, I put the blame at your feet. You're supposed to protect us. You're supposed to guide us. Now, we've had issues with some RFPs, and now we get right into our own sunset laws. And it's not acceptable.
Mr. McCray?
Thank you, Chair. My whole take is that, first of all, we don't want to place blame because, first of all, we went to a new legal person. I'm counsel after March, I'm just saying. So, it's not that we're trying to place blame, and I don't want anybody to think that we are placing blame, and it's not the last hour. I'm just saying this is housekeeping. We're cleaning things up, and I think that council is doing a great job, and we just need to let it continue to flow as it is flowing.
For the record, I'm placing blame.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick?
We know that.
If this isn't the last hour, why do we have to have a special meeting at the end of the month?
Well, if we're going to do the procedure like she said, to go ahead and clear this and get all this off the board so we don't have to worry about it, we need to follow those steps so that nobody can come back and argue that you should have been sunsetted by the 30th of September 2014. It just eliminates that possibility. Mr.
I too agree with Commissioner McCray and others. I don't see this as a last-minute situation. I think it's a verbiage thing that we need to address and deal with. I think we are our own worst enemies because if the truth be told, we really shouldn't even have a CRA if we had done the right thing as a city and enforced the codes to make sure that certain things didn't come beneath acceptance as they are in certain parts of the city. But there's nothing to say that we need to push this sunsetting to 2014. I see this as verbiage that we need to clear up and get straight and move forward because we do need a CRA. There are dollars that they can get that the city can't get, and so there are a lot of projects that are on the plate, on the table right now that we need to make sure that we don't, in the middle of it, sunset and they go uncompleted. So I'm all in favor of changing the verbiage and extending it to 2044.
Is there a motion to accept the attorney's recommendation to clarify
So moved.
the
So moved.
sunset?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Simply and briefly, I think in certain ways we're fortunate what happened. because we stand out in the crowd. We know where we are. We'll know where we are for the next 40 years. And no problem has arisen. It's just a matter of politics on people taking which side they want. The issue is the CRA, especially in the heart of Boynton, has been doing a wonderful job, and I'm sure in other areas will move forward. So quit the politics. The CRA is a good thing for the city of Boynton, and let's move forward.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion is unanimous. That's all you needed on that issue?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, discussion of CRA lease with Adventurous Pallet, Inc., DBA The Little House.
As some of you may or may not know, we've been notified by Chrissy Benoit, who is leasing the Little House from us, that she will be leaving. She said at the end of September, but actually now I find out on social media it will be Saturday. So you got to search everywhere these days. So we plan on going in and inspecting the property. I'm going to try to get in Friday and inspect it. It is in our lease that we can do that. She will not technically be in default until she doesn't pay October's rent. So the process, I believe, from that point where we'll have to notify her she'll be in default. And then what happens? I'm not sure what happens then.
The CRA would have a variety of remedies available to it upon default by the tenant. Mr. Spilius has put a very thorough memo in your backup that outlines the procedures, but just in a broad brush. If the tenant does default in October, the CRA could take steps to evict, and then it would need to take steps to file an action to obtain monetary damages for the lease. And while in addition to those remedies against the existing tenant, the CRA can pursue opportunities to re-let the property. The procedures are set forth in here, just typical CRA process, and or to sublease the property, I think, is another option that is outlined in the memo.
Question, please. It's almost immediately that we can move forward, you're saying. In other words, once the next month's rent is not paid, you send out the correct paperwork.
We can begin the notice procedures and follow up and
Within
begin
60
yes,
days. Okay.
right.
Okay, thank you.
One other question, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
But we're not really looking at an eviction procedure here, right? I mean, she's moving out.
She's leaving on her own.
Yeah, so what we need to do is move forward with finding a tenant as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Has she paid September's rent?
Yes, she's paid September.
Okay, so we're just wait to see what happens
We
in
just have
October.
to wait.
In the future leases that we write up, can we have a provision in there that allows us to attach the personal property of the tenants? Can that be something written into our
Oh,
lease?
yeah, absolutely.
Because we don't have that now, correct?
She doesn't have really
Well,
anything. She
maybe
has
the
some
next time,
toaster ovens.
maybe the next time we'll have some assets.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so
Yeah.
so the next leases that we write up,
Yeah.
that provision will be in there, correct?
yes. If we do any more improvements to that, like put a hood or any equipment in there or pay for it through a grant, we could do that. I would suggest that.
I would like to see that in all our future leases. No,
Right. You
When
can
was her-
actually file a UCT. or
When
you
was her
could
lease
file
supposed to expire?
She has a 5-year lease. She's probably halfway through it.
Oh,
She's halfway through it.
Fitzpatrick?
Over a year ago, I had a discussion with Kevin Scully, and he predicted this based on the size of the little house, that he doesn't think it's, in his opinion, wasn't viable because of its size. And so my question is how was it going to be viable for the next tenant if there is a problem with its size as a restaurant?
Yeah, Mr. Murray.
I understand, and he's had a successful business, but I don't think that's a prerequisite. There's another little business that's even smaller, and thank goodness is doing very nicely and is thinking of doing additional things for her business, and that's the East Ocean Cafe, which has gotten rave reviews. February, I believe it will be a year contract. So I don't think size. I think it's order, it's construction, it's a matter of knowing what you're doing in any business, whether it will be successful or not.
Well,
And-
she cooked out of a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Her last place, Havana Hideout, she had a truck. That's
Okay.
what she cooked out of,
So it's her past record that maybe we
Right.
need to look into more. But the size, I don't see that. I mean, hot dog stands, trucks, some of them are extremely successful, and it's obviously not big.
Well, I kind of agree with Board Member Fitzpatrick. I think it is very small in there. And maybe somebody can make that a success. It depends on what you want to do with it, I think. I can recall back when this lease was given to this party, there was business plans presented to this board, and I was told, I wasn't here, but I was told the very best business plan presented that night was from Kim Kelly, who owns Hurricane Alley. However, she was not given that because the mayor and some of his cohorts did not like Kim Kelly. That's the whole reason she didn't get selected. And so I think, I noticed in here, one of the suggestions, the current tenant was to sign the lease to a friend of hers in Lake Worth, which I'm totally against. I don't think we should do that. And I think I'd like to hear whoever wants to take it over, they need to come to us and tell us what they're going to do so we can determine
I
whether
want
we
to
want
get
to give them a
somebody in
lease or
there
not.
to look at a restaurant from one of the restaurant designer companies, get in there and see if we can add a kitchen in there, a small kitchen, cooking kitchen, and if that's possible, if that would be possible, and get some information like that first before, and then get some other guys who deal with restaurants to
There's some
come in
people
there.
that are already successful, like Kim Kelly's got a gold mine down there in Hurricane
Right.
Alley, and she was ready to take it over. So we got other people out there that may have
We
some good
do.
ideas.
There are other
So I'd
people.
like to listen to them.
Chair,
Okay, yes.
I just wanted to, for the records, I was here, and what you're saying is absolutely true. That's what happened, and that's why she did not get it. I just want to concur with you for the record.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair?
Appreciate it. Yes.
For the record, there's actually a missing step. The night that Kim Kelly made her presentation, it was awarded to another person whose name I can't remember. She eventually could not put together the deal, and we put it out again. And at that time, the second time around, Chrissy got it. But I think that we need to be very judicious, and we thought we were being when we awarded it to Chrissy, but even more so next time around. Getting into the real nuts and bolts of the operation, everything from menu to whatever, to make sure it's successful this time. And I believe it can be. I've been a lot of places. There's places in this town that have no air conditioning that are very successful. So with inside seating and outside seating, even though it's small, I believe it can be successful because it's an attractive place too. So
Okay. You need any other guidance?
No, thank you.
Okay. We'll go to agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a
Motion to
motion?
approve.
Second?
Motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So the motion is adopted. Informational items by directors and board members, CRA staff, the closure of conflicts, contacts, relationships for items presented to the CRA board on agenda items. Start with Mr. Buchanan.
no disclosure of contacts, conflicts, relationships, and no informational announcements.
Thank you. Board Member McCray,
Thank you. Same as Board Member Buchanan, ditto.
David Merker.
Yes, please. I had a very interesting conversation, an informative conversation with, I'm hoping I'm saying his right name, Frank Serabino. He has a column in the Palm Beach Post, and we had a discussion dealing with the tri-rail, the good and the bad and the ugly. I think there's a lot that we need to learn. I'm not saying personally right now if I'm for or against something, but I found his column very interesting, and I'm not going into details now, but he elaborated the pros and the cons. And I think it's this subject matter, when it comes up before us, is that essential, not just for Boynton Beach, not just for Palm Beach County, but for the whole state of Florida, on how Florida is growing population-wise and where the population is going. So I look forward to this discussion again.
Board Member Costello.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, meaning the city manager and I attended a round table meeting down in Boca with federal elected officials all the way down to state and local elected, and it was about the sober homes and how we're going to address this. And it was a real good spirited educational discussion, and they're going to have a few more of them. What we can do on a local level, what they're going to be doing on the federal level, and on a state level. And I think they've got some great ideas, and hopefully in the next few months we'll be hearing those ideas and putting some policies and laws into effect, helping us protect our city.
Thank you. Commissioner Fitzpatrick, Board Member Fitzpatrick.
No contacts in the last month relating to CRA issues.
Board Member Hay.
No disclosures, but would like to mention the fact that we do have a 50-year anniversary of one of the entrepreneurs being in our city. It's coming up, I believe it's October 2nd. Oh, October 2nd, and that is Goodyear, right there on US 1. And they are planning to have a little celebration. The chamber is involved, and we want as many of the board members as possible to come out and just say hello or make your presence known. So that's, I think most of us know Doug at Goodyear. It's not a promotional thing. All he wanted to do was just have a few cookies and coffee with his employees, but I told him it's bigger than that. And you can count the businesses on one hand that's been in our neighborhood and our city for 50 years. And I think it would behoove us to support that longevity by coming out and supporting.
It's at 4 o'clock on October 2nd.
Thank you, 4 o'clock on October 2nd.
What day of the week is that?
That's a good question.
Is it a Thursday?
It is a Thursday.
Thursday.
I'm trying to get him to get the Goodyear blimp.
Yeah,
Come on out.
he's working on it.
Come out and support him.
Yeah.
Get a ride in the blimp.
Right.
And
Very good.
I wanted to remind you about the FRA conference, which is October 8th, 9th, and 10th. And I know some of you are going with Lori to the P3 conference, the Public-Private Partnership Conference. Some of you may want to go to FRA. Some of you may want to go to that. It's in Miami this year. So I just need any of you who are going to FRA to let me know as soon as possible so we can register you. And that's it. On November, I believe, La Cesse 500 Ocean will be coming before you to discuss an incentive. So I'll be sending around an email about that, but I believe they will be on the November agenda.
Okay. I have no disclosures, so that's everybody.
Could I just say one more thing?
Go ahead.
Because you were there today also. I don't know who out there is a dog lover, but we went to police had for retiring a beautiful dog who's given service to the city. And if you're a dog lover like I am, it's emotional. We sometimes don't appreciate animals enough. And this dog has given its life to the city of Boynton, and I think it was just a very nice event.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
thank you. It would behoove all of us. I'm just saying that, I'm sitting up here thinking, but on the fourth Sunday in September this month, the St. John Missionary Baptist Church, we will be celebrating our 106th church anniversary. Whether, we might not convene back there, but I just want to invite all of you, to please come out and partake. That's 106 years. Probably Reverend Hay was there, longer than I was, but he's older.
Yeah, respect your elders.
Were you there for the
Okay.
first one?
I don't think so.
Okay. Announcements and awards. The 2014 Sun Sentinel Award, first place.
Yes, we won the, it's sensational. It's the Florida Festivals and Events Association. We won first place for a promotional poster for Catch a Free event last year, which we didn't really kind of expect it, but we did win first place, so we wanted to let you know that for that. You won that.
Congratulations. That's great.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Super.
Good job.
Yeah, our marketing collateral has gone up quite a bit, and I believe in the look and feel of it. We want to improve our image. That's our goal. And so I think being recognized for that is proof that it's happening. So.
Thank you.
I like to say, as I came down Ocean Avenue this morning, I seen the Pirate Fest signs. Thank you. I
Coming.
am paying attention.
It's coming.
Okay, it takes us to consent. Anybody wish to remove anything from consent agenda? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the consent.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, show the motion unanimous. Information only. Anybody want any comments on the public comment law? PRA development project update for the Harbor Marina, and the CRA development update on the parking lot. Anybody questions on that? Information.
The harbor looks beautiful.
It's coming along. Yep.
Parking lot looks sensational. Okay.
This takes us to public comments. Anybody wish to address the board may do so at this time. Give your name and address for the record.
David Katz, 67 Midwood Lane. I have prepared statements, so I'm going to look down. I find it amusing that I take up so much real estate in the minds of the Palm Beach Post editors. On August 14th, there was an article written by Alexandra Seltzer, which was devoid of numerous material facts and reflected her reporting skills. Her failure to fact-check showed her reporting skills are negligible at best. Ms. Seltzer's stories contain nothing but fizz. When asked to come on board to work with Florida Affordable Housing, I went to the county and registered as a lobbyist. This action was taken by me not out of fear or concern, but to show that it was the ethical action to take. Contrary to the lack of ethics on the part of Mark Karageorge, Michael Picard, and Terry Murray of Neighborhood Renaissance, and anyone connected with their proposal, they chose not to register. Ironically, no one is required by law to register to lobby members of the CRA board or staff. I find it interesting that at the August 12th meeting of the CRA, when Mr. Merker brought up his veiled concern for me on whether I was a lobbyist for Florida Affordable Housing, that Mr. Spilius, the board's attorney, or Vivian Brooks, the CRA director, failed to inform the board there was no legal requirement for anyone to register under the county lobbying ordinance because the Boynton CRA is not governed by that ordinance. Mr. Merker did not share the same concern for his good friend and former CRA board member Mark Karageorge on whether he had registered or whether anyone connected with Neighborhood Renaissance had registered under the Palm Beach County lobbying ordinance. It's common knowledge that Mr. Merker and Mr. Karageorge socialized a great deal together. Mr. Karageorge was even present at Hurricane Alley when Mr. Merker was asked to leave by the owner for displaying unacceptable behavior and after calling board members Hay and Casello peanut brains. Mr. Merker's behavior is a matter of record and an email sent by Kim Kelly to the city manager. The real concerns of this board should be the lack of ethics demonstrated on the part of the CRA director. Mr. Karageorge was employed by a storage facility here in Boynton Beach. Ms. Brooks helped him gain employment with her relationships at Neighborhood Renaissance. When this action occurred, Mr. Karageorge was a board member. He was one of her 7 bosses who would rate her performance and vote on her raises. The board has required staff disclosures on every CRA meeting agenda. When Mark Karageorge resigned from the CRA board during the May 13th meeting, he cited conflicts of interest with his employer, Neighborhood Renaissance. This would have been opportune time for Ms. Brooks to have disclosed her former relationship with Neighborhood Renaissance as well. Not until the August 12th meeting, feeling somewhat pressured, she finally disclosed that she had been employed by Neighborhood Renaissance. She should have disclosed this at the same meeting that Mr. Karageorge resigned from the board, but she didn't. That requirement of disclosure is on the agenda for every meeting. Ms. Brooks, a former employee of Neighborhood Renaissance, placed herself on the selection committee to screen and rank respondents for the Ocean Breeze RFP. Reluctantly, she took herself off the committee, but only after being questioned about it. Concerning the Ocean Breeze RFP, she supplied the board, the press, and the public with incorrect and thus misleading figures in relation to the economic and dollar impact that each proposal would have on the CRA. She did, however, at the 11th hour, send a correction to the board, but the story was published with the grossly incorrect figures and was already out. Having awarded the RFP to Neighborhood Renaissance and Hudson Holdings, they have the opportunity to receive $2.1 million in taxpayer money. This was a grave injustice. The Palm Beach Post continues to foster dissent and commentary. And when you put them together, you've got dysentery. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to address the board at this time? Seeing none, we will close the public comments and move to public hearing. First item, consideration of Resolution 14-06 to amend the CRA plan to clarify time certain for the compliance of CRA projects.
Mayor
Comment?
and Board Chair, this is what we discussed under legal. This is the authority to modify and amend the plan, providing for the effective date, as we discussed earlier. This is a resolution.
This is the resolution to do that, right?
Yes, this is
Go
the
ahead.
resolution.
Thank you. Personally speaking, I'm against this. I think communication, education, and being informed is very important. The idea that we may speak, and obviously we disclose whom we speak to, is healthy. The learning curve to see what is good and what is bad for us, the city, is a healthy thing. If
I think you're not
I think
talking
we're
about
on
what
the
we're
wrong
talking
item.
about.
Yeah,
I'm
We're
on
doing item
I'm too
12A,
12A.
consideration of resolution 1406, which is
I'm
dealing
wrong.
with...
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, is there a motion?
we'll continue that later.
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, show the motion unanimous. Under old business, consideration of resolution 1405, adopting CRA budget for fiscal 2014-2015. Good evening, Susan.
Good evening. The budget before you is...
Say your name for the record.
Sorry. Susan Harris, Finance Director.
Thank you.
The item before you is the budget that was discussed August 7th, and it is the same except for one change. We had a property acquisition between that time and the time of the approval this evening. So I needed to change the rollover funds for property purchases in next year's budget. It was reduced by $92,000 to reflect that purchase. Otherwise, everything is the same. We're asking the board tonight to review and approve the budget, approve the resolution to approve the budget, subject to the City Commission's ratification of the CRI budget at their September 16th meeting.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion is second to approve resolution 1405, CRA budget. Any discussion?
Susan, the reduction of 92, is that what we're paying Mr. Robinson to the Hull?
We're paying him $89,000, and I always put aside $3,000 for closing costs. If it's not that much, it goes back into fund balance. So just to be sure that we have the legal costs covered.
Okay, and that wasn't in the budget? Is that why we're doing it now?
It was in this
Okay.
current year's budget.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion is unanimous. Consideration of code of silence, policy for RFPs and RFQs, and invitation to bid. Board Member Merker, I think this is where you wanted to talk.
Thank you, and I apologize for my mistake.
You made one, gee.
Sitting next to you. No,
An apology or a mistake?
it's both. It's both. Define it any way you want. Going back to what I was saying, I think when we get elected, it's the respect of the people who elect us. And I don't think any of the people, the citizens, I should say, better word, think negatively of us, obviously, until we do something negative. The code of silence to me is a stumbling block. It's like a wall. It's stopping people from learning and understanding what one another has to say. To understand the heartbeat of a developer or an attorney or whomever we want to speak to is very good. I would assume, and maybe I shouldn't assume, but I would think, let me use that word, I would think that when we sit down with people and people voice their opinion, we stop, we think, we pull back, and we think about what we learned or what we didn't learn and whether or not it confirms our thoughts. This cone of silence simply, to me, stops that, alters that, and prevents an informative and further education on a subject matter.
Here.
Yes, Board Member
Thank you.
Craig.
I'd just like to say that the cone of silence, this is not required by the CRA. Am I correct?
Correct, I believe you're correct.
Thank you. It's not a
Correct.
requirement.
Not a requirement, yeah. Yeah, and I think this has to do with talking with the developer or the people, we still is between us, we can't talk. You know, that's a different thing. But this is for talking to people who are answering RFPs and such, so what's the board's desire on this?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm in favor of the cone of silence as written, and once it comes to action before this board, that anything that's going to be presented to this board can be presented to this board in public, and if they can't explain it in time public, and we're not smart enough to pick it up, there's something wrong with all of us. So I think that public information and presentations should be sufficient for us to make decisions.
I agree with Mr. Buchanan. I think that anything that needs to be discussed should be discussed right out here in the chamber. I don't think we need to be in the back rooms with these developers and getting their spiel on, or their sell on what we should and shouldn't be doing. I think it should be out here in public and everything out here in the open.
Board Member Fitzpatrick?
I'm not clear on this. The way I read what the cone of silence is in the statute stuff, it seems to be more dealing with contracts, not developers. Contracts for like utilities contracts and stuff with the city kind of thing, and not so much with developers. Am I wrong here, or am I missing something?
Well, for what we do, often what we do is we do RFPs for land, so it would be with developers.
Okay.
The city does a lot of utility work, so in that case it would be for utility contractors. But we do capital projects. We do the marina project that we're completing now is like $1.5 million. So that is with a contractor. So it is designed to cover across all those type of projects.
Okay. My concern initially was having two different cones of silence between the city and the CRA, because I thought that would be difficult to keep straight. But I think I can keep straight between city has a cone of silence and the CRA doesn't have a cone of silence. And so I think I'm kind of hard-headed enough that I'm not going to be easily swayed. So, and I have picked up information from people, even if it is biased. So at this time, unless something comes up that shows there's a problem down the road, I don't really see a need for a code of silence with the CRA.
Board Member Hay?
I think for consistency purposes, so you don't have to make that distinction, try to remember what's what, especially since the commission and the CRA majority are the same people. I can see going along with having the code of silence and having any discussions here done in the public. I'm not very strong on either one, but I do feel that for consistency purposes, I can see going along with what the city has set up, so that consistency will exist throughout.
Mr. Chair?
Let me ask a question. Is it correct that, let's say we go out for an RFP, and then the RFPs come back? Once the RFPs come back, is that when the code of silence starts?
No, the code of silence starts when the RFP is issued, the
When it's
legal
issued.
notice is issued.
So then no more discussion
Right.
as is issued.
Once it's issued.
So really, I don't know when you would discuss it with them anyway. If the RFP hadn't even been issued, you wouldn't be probably discussing it anyways. So you're probably never going to discuss it with them until
Nope, not until they come and present to
come and
you.
present. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to make one other observation. The fact if we don't have a cone of silence with the CRA consistent with the city, and bidders lobby city commission members as CRA members, eventually the city commission has to approve the project anyway. So in essence, because of the strange situation, in essence, while technically the cone of silence hasn't been violated for the city, practically it has been. So I think it needs to be consistent, have the same cone of silence, and go with that.
Exactly.
Board Member McCray, did you have a comment?
My whole take is that I'm just want to be like consistent with the city, but when it comes to this area, I'm really not in favor, but just to make sure that everybody's on the same page, because some of us do serve in two capacities, I'll go along with the cone of silence.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Make the motion
Second.
What is the motion?
that we accept the cone of silence.
Okay, is a motion to accept the cone of silence. Is there a second? Is there a second? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
So the motion passes 5-2. 5-2, yep. Okay.
I have one more point of information on the cone of silence. The way I read that first line is that if you send like a written email to a developer and ask questions, they can respond to you.
Only respond to the person outlined in the RFP or invitation to bid. That's the contact person for clarification, not the commissioners. Are you talking about the one that says cone of silence?
Where's I'm
8B.
lost in my
8B.
8B, 13B. I don't know. Maybe I can find, but I thought you could talk. I thought you could send a letter. Oh, here it is. Code of silence means prohibition on any communication except for written correspondence regarding particular requests for proposals. So, does that mean you can have a back and forth as long as it's written for pages and pages?
I wouldn't interpret it that way. I don't know how the city interprets it, but I wouldn't interpret it that way. I would interpret it to mean what Vivian said, that in every RFP there's generally a contact person identified who will accept written questions about the contents of the proposal if there are any, which questions usually get published as addendum. Answers to those questions usually get published as addendum to the RFP so that all the bidders are on the same page with clarity on the RFP. I wouldn't interpret it this way, but again, I don't know how the city applies that language.
Because somebody from the county told me that as long as it was in written correspondence, I could talk to county commissioners during the cone of silence period.
I'm happy to look into that for the commission to see how the city and the
Yeah, why don't you
county.
look at that and get back to us, because I don't see how that's any different than talking to somebody. I can write a note.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, so we'll she'll get back to us on that.
And can we just, when we say written, would that, we're talking email, I would presume?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
yep,
Yeah,
good point.
any form of,
Okay,
Nobody writes letters anymore.
new business.
Cliff
even,
Montrose.
even a napkin.
Consideration revised human resource policies and procedures manual. It's very lengthy. You read it all.
There's going to be a
200 some
test.
pages or something like that.
My goodness.
Any questions? Okay, what do you need from us? A motion to accept?
Yes.
Motion to accept.
Second?
A motion second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So the motion ends.
Thank you.
Consideration of Executive Director's annual review and evaluation. Go ahead, Commissioner Merkel. Board Member Merkel.
Obviously, I've scripted what I think of our director, which personally I think she's in a very, very difficult position. People don't realize what they don't realize, not just Vivian Brooks, but also in the subject matter later down the road, or when we did speak about Lori too. It's one of the most difficult positions to oversee a city, make all the people happy, and she doesn't have a crystal ball what the end results will be. She can only initiate it and be there for the city. I personally think Vivian works 24/7, does the very best, and what I personally think, and speaking to, I think, Susan, the budget there is warranted for her to get a raise, and I move that she gets a 3% raise.
Comments?
Thank you. When I did the evaluation on our executive director, I placed on the end of it, I said that I've only been able to work with you like for 5 months. Okay, I want to be fair. Okay, but I had the opportunity to work with her more than one time. This is not my first time, up at the bat with Mrs. Brooks. And I'm just saying, sitting up here sometime and hearing the board members' dialogue and the way we talk about individuals, sometime I look and try to realize and want to say, are we all human? And I'm just saying, and sometimes she gets beat up on, and she just hang on in there, just like you said, everybody loves a dog. I'm not calling her a dog, but we all love her. Okay? Yeah, she got beat up on. Yeah, but
another analogy.
But I'm just saying, But with all of that being said, I'm in favor of Mrs. Brooks, since we gave the employees of the city a 3% raise. I'm in favor of a 3% raise for Mrs. Brooks for her work that she has done over the years, not only just since I came back on. And I'd like to sum it up, although I did not put it on my evaluation. You are 1 in a million, Vivian. Thank you. I know I did.
Board Member Buchanan, did you want to say anything?
No, I agree with the last two comments. That
Anybody
Vivian does an
else?
outstanding
Is there-
job in keeping, with that consistency, I'd be in favor of a 3% raise for her.
For more discussion, there was a motion made to give a 3% increase. Was there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, discussion, Commissioner Casella.
Yeah, Vivian, you and your staff, you do a great job. You really do.
Thank you.
But there's things that I think it's been about 14 months since I've been working with you, and I'm a brick and mortar guy. I like to see things come out of the ground. And in the 14 months, other than the marina, which was already in place before I even got here, coming out of the ground, and we got a parking lot. I have seen nothing. We've got a lot of in the pipeline, for lack of a better term, that could be happening. But it hasn't happened yet. We're still in negotiations, and I'm talking about 500 Ocean Ave, which has been an ongoing thing. I'm talking about 1 Ocean Ave, which we've had a couple of deals which fell through for whatever reasons, not CRA's fault, but we're never closed. We have one up on Seacrest now, we're with the Hudson people there, that we're just starting to go into negotiations. No building permits, nothing yet. That's just going into negotiations. We've got a dollar store, maybe, but they haven't taken out any permits or anything like that to get coming out of the ground. So there's a lot of maybes. What I'd like to do is see things come out of the ground, move us forward. The things I've seen is that we spent a lot of money in bundling properties. That's great. I understand that's part of the mission, Board Member Hay. But I like to see things come out of those bundles, and I haven't seen that. You do a great job of managing the CRA. It's not an easy job by any stretch of the imagination. But we've got to see progress. People-based progress on not how many parcels of land you bundle, but what comes out of the ground, where they can visually see it, touch it. That's how they benchmark progress. I would like to wait a little bit before I grant a raise of any sort for maybe another 6 months and see some of these projects closed on and actual shovels in the ground. That's what I would be looking for. Other than that, you do a great job. Your staff is wonderful. They're all personable. I enjoy my time going down there. But we've got to see things coming out of the ground. I haven't seen that in 14 months other than those couple of projects I mentioned to you.
Family Dollar just got its final approval at the last City Commission meeting. The development process is about a 2-year process from the time a person looks at a piece of land to the time the shovel hits the dirt. I wish I could bring George Perez, who's built 80,000 residential units in South Florida here. It's a 2-year process from germination of the idea to the turning of the dirt. I don't control that timeline. I simply try to match the dirt to a developer. That's my job. I simply try to excite people about investing their money here. Bundling property, that's how you get a project done, because a project has to sit on land. It doesn't sit in the air. It has to sit on land. We have projects that are in plans, and we have to bundle the property to make the project happen. And that's what we're doing. We've made a lot of progress. We built 21 homes. Up to now, we've built a total of 34 new homes in Heart of Boynton, where there was hardly any new homes built. So the marina, which Jim used to refer to as the rat hole, fondly, is no longer the rat hole. It's going to be the kind of epicenter which was meant to be in the original CRA plan of the entire CRA district is coming to fruition. And we didn't bond for it, and we didn't borrow money to do it. We've done it year after year, and it's almost done. So that's coming out of the ground. That was millions of dollars spent to do that. And that is meant to attract new investment. Every day I'm on the phone with developers, enticing them to look at sites. I don't own the sites. We don't know. CRA doesn't own them. But we have to entice them and hook them up, kind of like Match.com. That's my job. I cannot force them. I cannot force the property owners to lower their price or be reasonable. I can incentivize to the extent the board approves it, and that's my job.
Chair. Vivian said quite a bit of what I was going to say, but we are a long way down the road from where we used to be. And let me tell you, I'm thankful for the Mavis, because it's been a long time trying to get Mavis, and now we have them. And so I'm all in favor of giving her a 3% raise at this point in time. We've received several awards, and you don't receive awards for not doing something good. So the progress that we've made with the 31 homes, the marina, and many other projects that we have coming shows that a lot of progress has been made. If you look back over the years that I know I've been around, we have never been as close to many of these projects as we are now. And that is directly related to the effort put on by Vivian Brooks and her staff. And I think we need to acknowledge that. I wish I could give her more. But in all fairness, with what we've done in the past with the city manager and others, I support 3% at this time.
Good. Ms. Fitzpatrick?
When I first came on board, there was what I've seen is there's been a little turnover in staff, and it's been each one has been an improvement, and that's because I believe Vivian's picking them. So one of her main jobs is main cheerleader. So and giving direction, and I believe things are going in a positive direction. It's already starting to be forgotten that we're just come out of the worst economic downturn in 100 years. So this is a good, it's going to take a while. And I'm taking a construction management course at FAU, and just last Thursday, the professor said it's 18 months from idea inception to seeing something done on the site. So it's taken a while to get going, but it's like cranking a flywheel, and I think it's starting to turn over now. So I'm in favor of 3% too.
Go ahead.
Well, those projects you mentioned, board member Hay, the 21 homes have a great job, come out of the ground. The marina come out of the ground. But let's remember, we compensated the director 3% of her last evaluation for those same projects that we talk about tonight. So,
if I may, Chair,
go ahead.
One of the things that we had to do in order to make those projects be a maybe at this point was to sell property and get with the city to make sure that we had the land adjacent to each other to make those things happen. They were so segmented there, we could not possibly invite those to come in. With the effort that this staff and director has put on to get with the city and sit down and put those properties together to make these projects possible is what I'm talking about. And now we have them, and I think that needs to be rewarded.
Well, let me have a chance.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you already did one. You've already made the motion, right?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
Okay. I would just say that I agree. 21 homes was significant activity. That's big. But not only that, maybe it didn't come out of the ground, went off the ground, was we got rid of some drug units up there on Seacrest and Martin Luther King. We tore down buildings that were run down, and you couldn't do anything in that area because they were so bad. We've done a lot there. We've had events to bring people into this downtown. The Pirates Fest, these things are big undertakings. The Pirates Fest, music at night, during the monthly music where we bring people down. The movies at night, bring people downtown. These are events that the CRA is doing to attract people to our downtown. And, I just could go on. There's a lot of different things that happen, and they don't happen by themselves. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort. So I do not have a problem with the 3% increase.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My whole take is that to Mrs. Brooks, my parents always told me, say, if you please everybody, it's something wrong. So it's nothing wrong. Thank you.
Okay. I do have a motion and a second for a 3% increase for the Executive Director of CRA. Everybody, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
So the motion passes 6-1. The next item is consideration of economic development grant revisions for fiscal 2014 and 2015.
Chair, we're looking at making two changes to these two grants: commercial rent reimbursement and commercial interior build-out. The only change we want to make is the amount that we will reimburse, and only to full-service restaurants. That means open for lunch and dinner, and serving and having seating for 50, either in and out. It could be indoor and in and out. We want to double the rent reimbursement for the first year and double the interior build-out. We're having a lot of interest from restaurants, but there's a hurdle at Las Ventanas. It's no build-out at all. There's no floor. It's just dirt. Same at Costa Costa. So we want to get those restaurant spaces full, hopefully in this next fiscal year. Restaurants bring a lot of activity downtown at night. If you've been to a city, that's the most active areas or where the restaurants are. So we're recommending doubling that just for full service restaurants only. That's the only change.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about restaurants here, and it says, I'm reading it where we're going from, was it 7,000 to 12,000?
Right.
Okay, but it says, in order to receive, develop a grant, 2 full-time employees are required in order to receive the maximum amount of the grant. Now, if I'm opening a restaurant, I'm thinking, how do you open a restaurant without at least 2 full-time employees? I mean, the manager and the cook will be 2 right off the bat.
Right.
So why? So I say, okay, I got 2 employees. Give me the 12,000. I don't understand why we'd pay that. That should be automatic. How would you open a restaurant without a cook and a manager? And so it
They
doesn't
can be
seem like
full-time
you're
equivalent. In other words, it can be 2 part-time equals 1 full-time. So they could be they can be more.
But that's like you get it automatically. I can open a restaurant and say, all right, I get 12,000 because I'm the manager and there's my cook. I don't even need anybody else to give me 12,000.
Well, they wouldn't be managing a 50-seat restaurant with that amount of people. It wouldn't be possible for them to do it.
But, okay, I agree. So they need more. So why wouldn't you have more employees required before you got that kind
We
of
could do that. We
money?
could add.
We're giving a lot of money out there.
do
We're
that.
handing it away to me.
And remember, this is reimbursement. They don't get our money, and they don't get it all in one shot. They have to do it quarterly.
Well, I agree, but I'm saying, why are you going into business anyway? Probably the little house, she probably didn't have the financial thing behind her to start with. One of the reasons she's folding up after
No, she
time.
had a grant, a loan, totally. I reviewed it, but she had an approved loan. I saw it for $100,000. I saw the loan papers. I was
just
with
question saying 2 people and you get this. If I can show you got 2 people, I'm opening a business, I got 2 people, give me my $12,000 is what I'm reading.
No, they have to actually spend their money. They actually have to put forth the money before they get our money. So it's a big onerous thing on them.
Well, if you're opening a restaurant for 50 people, like you're talking about 50 people, I would think you're going to spend $12,000 easily. I don't see that's a problem with coming up with that much to start with. You don't have $12,000, how can you open that kind of business? You know, I don't know, that's just I'm just thinking that sounds to me like we're handing out a lot of money here.
They
for
did this
what?
in another area that was similar to ours, and it was very successful, and the restaurants, for the most part, have not turned over very much. It was pretty successful, so that's where I got it from. We can up the number of employees. We can we can double the employees.
Well, I think that's the key, is to try and get employment. If you want to,
No,
if you're trying to
that's what we tried
incentivize
to
them,
do.
you ought to say to try and get them
I can
hire
add-
some
I can
people,
double
you know,
the
and then we can
employees. That's not a
incentivize. I
problem.
think that's how it normally works for a business. You bring in X amount of workforce, we can give you an incentive.
Right.
So I don't know, it's two sound to me like that'd be the minimum to even. you
Yeah,
can
that's
open
what
the
we
door to
had
two
in there
people.
before, because most of our businesses have been very small mom and pop ones, so that's why. But I could make it, we can double it to 4 full-time equivalent.
I don't know, maybe it's
Chair.
just me, I didn't hear anything from the rest of the board.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can we just offer a motion to have this table until she get the information back to us so that we could reread it again? I'm just saying there's no urgency. I'm just saying, I'd like to offer a motion to table C.
We actually have people looking right now in two restaurants looking in Costa Costa, so that's the only reason that we're sort of in a hurry, because they want,
Can I
there's,
say- I'm sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no,
Mark.
you finish. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So-
I just wanted to second Mr. McCrae's
Oh.
motion.
I have a
How
motion to
about-
table in a
Okay.
second.
For listening.
Discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you want to say, oh.
Yeah,
If
can we maybe bring it back on the, oh, that's a city commission.
Well, they've been tabled
Don't we
yet,
have a
so
meeting
we're-
that's coming up?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd just like to say, I agree with you. I think that, I like the concept a lot. I think that 2 is, like a given, and it should be either 3 or 4. Just change it to that, and I'm ready to go with it.
If I go along with Board Member Buchanan, if we can up that to 4, I'm okay with it.
Anybody else?
I agree with the up to the 4.
Okay, I have 3 board members that we up at the 4, they're ready to move on it.
Yeah, let's move then.
There's a
It's
motion
fine.
on the floor.
Motion on the floor to table. All in favor of tabling?
No.
All opposed?
No.
No?
Motion fails.
Fine.
Is there another motion?
I'd like to move that we accept it with the change to 4 employees.
Second.
Second.
Motion second to accept it with moving it up to a requirement of 4 employees for the maximum. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Show the motion is unanimous. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, on the next one,
Interior build-out.
interior build-out, I see we have this, we have 3 full-time employees. I'd like to suggest we change that to 4 also.
Right, it was the same situation there.
Second.
I have a motion second to approve this with you move it up to 4 employees. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Show the motion unanimous. Consideration for subordination of CRA's mortgage for HAP recipients Arden and Sandra Gale.
What about D?
We got to do D.
D.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
missed it. Consideration of marina slip lease renewal.
This we have to do, we renew every year October 1st with our marina slip tenants. The only change to this is that we are, in the rules and regulations, we're adding additional language to say they can only park, our slip tenants can only park 15 minutes loading and unloading in the parking spaces in front of the slips. There's parking spaces there. Their tenants are, our tenants are taking up those spaces, and they're really meant for the public to access. And what we're going to do is we'd like to give them a warning the first time, so I want you to be aware. And the next time we'd like to tow them, because they're basically parking in front of where the public should be able to park and access the marina. So it's been a problem, but now we'd like to put that in the rules and enforce it.
Have they been notified?
They will be if the lease is approved, yeah.
Who enforces the parking down there?
That will be our marina management company, Brian, unfortunately. He'll have to do that.
Can he write tickets or have cars
No,
towed?
he'll just have to have, he'll put a warning on their car that if you do it again, we're going to tow you, and then he'll work with a tow company. Because it's private property.
Just through a phone call, tell him the second time this towed is, okay.
Yeah.
I think the second time is kind of harsh. I think that, we need to collect funds first, like $25, and then say, if it's repeated again, now you'll be towed. I'm just saying,
And I don't know how we're going to collect funds. It's a private road. We already talked to the police about it. They can't ticket them, so.
So let's do it like baseball. 3 strikes, you're out, okay? Won them twice.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to ask the question. How do we come up with 15 minutes versus?
Because they're unloading equipment like rods and reels and dive stuff. And a lot of them are public. People who are going on the boats, and they have dive equipment and stuff. So these guys park there all day long, and the people who want to go fishing or diving have nowhere to unload their stuff. So it's onerous on their actual customers. So we're trying to get them to understand it's helpful to them, their own business. So it's a learning curve.
Okay, can we put this in place? I'm just saying, if we put it in place, can we revisit this like in 3 months to see how it's working out?
Yeah.
When you get the first few calls, you'll.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with it and see. We can always readdress it if it's...
Yes.
Vivian, could you
Blame it on me.
Can you explain once again why we're not going up on the $16 per linear foot? Because
Yes, right. We're going into the next phase of construction this coming fiscal year, October 1. Obviously not October 1. We have to go through the start of the actual process. But you will hear complaints if there's construction going on and we're disrupting their business, and we've been down this road, so we know what will happen. So we decided after the construction is complete that we would look at rents in marinas comparable to ours and do an analysis like we've done before of all the other marinas, and look at our marina and bring back to you what we think would be a fair rent. And you can either decide to subsidize it or not subsidize it. Right now it's subsidized rent, basically. They also get a discount on the gas from us because we have our own gas pumps. So they get a discount on that. So, they're getting a nice sweet.
At some point, that's going to be a top-notch marina with everything being new and everything, these pumps and everything like that. So maybe we shouldn't be like subsidizing.
Correct.
Get to that point where, okay, we've built it to where it needs to be built. No more subsidized.
Right. And,
Would that be a fair statement to make?
the intestinal fortitude will have to be there to hear the, complaining.
I'm sure.
I have no problem with it because there's been a lot of public dollars put in there to improve it.
Right.
And therefore, the rate should be, it doesn't have to be high, but it should be comparable to what else is out there.
Okay, thank you.
Your motion?
I'll move.
Second.
What is the motion?
The motion is to go ahead and
Approve the lease.
approve it.
Right.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is unanimous. Okay. Now, via the Sierras.
We are on E.
Burton and
E.
Sandra Gale.
Consideration.
Consider a subordination of CRA's mortgage for HAP, Simmons, Arden, and Sandra Gale. They are trying to refinance to lower their interest and things. So
And they have to come before the board for approval for that. And this is actually a happy story. They still are in their home and they're paying their mortgage, but they just want to lower the interest rate. In order to do that, they need the approval to do that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion unanimous. Review of CRA's property acquisition relocation policy.
This came before us, before you, at the request of a board member, when we did relocation for Nathaniel Robinson's purchase. And what I did is I pulled the HUD, Housing and Urban Development Guidelines, And what I would recommend out of there is, if you go to the second page of the HUD guidelines, there is a uniform, there's a chart, and it's for Florida, that we adopt the HUD Uniform Relocation and Assistance moving cost schedule for the state of Florida based on whatever year it is, and we can always look that up, and based on the room size of whoever we're relocating. So that gives them the moving costs that they need. So if they have a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, etc., and that's what we would pay them to move. That would be an easy thing.
So we'd end up paying per room, basically.
Right.
Right.
That way, we're not going back and forth, well, this is what you said it would cost, and this is what we said it would cost. And this is one of the HUD guidelines.
Well, will you have any idea what approximately what that comes out to?
Well, it's here, and it says 1 room is $550, 2 rooms is $700, 3 rooms is $875, 4 rooms is $1,050. So if you're moving somebody, that's what you get.
Okay.
We write a check.
Okay. The other thing is this transportation for you and your family, packing, moving, unpacking your household goods. Are we going to continue to do that?
No, what I'm saying is, this is what I recommend we pay. This is what we write a check. You'll pay for the moving.
That's it. That's it. The total right there.
Yes, I'm just saying, out of these HUD guidelines, that we'll pay. Then for the actual, if we buy a property that has a tenant, a rental tenant in it, that we would pay the moving plus first, last, and security, because we're
Uprooting their lives, yeah.
yeah.
Are we going to pay for the cable, phone disconnect?
No.
Reconnect?
No.
We're not going to do that?
No.
What about hardship cases? We've had a few hardship cases come before the board before.
My opinion on that is that, first, last, and security, generally, I think, look at the market rent in Boynton Beach, which I have those numbers from Hannah Matris, who works for the city. She keeps those numbers current. We'll take the average rent for each apartment size, and if they're a family of whatever, get that average rent, and we'll pay first, last, and security, and that's what we'll pay them. So we're going to probably improve a lot of these people's lives. They'll be able to get a better apartment.
And I agree, that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
But I just want to be consistent with it. I don't want taking on an individual basis. It has to be consistent. You got 4 rooms, this is what you get. This is what we pay.
Right.
That's all I'm asking.
Now, sometimes you will have people, and this will happen, I want to explain to you, we're buying a property, and there are living too many people in a house by code.
Oh.
Right. Now, we don't want to relocate them in the same situation, right? Because we're not going to break the law. So we're going to have to give them enough money to relocate into an apartment that's the right size.
Wait a minute, so you're telling me we have people breaking the law, too many people in the apartment, and we're going to pay for them to relocate? Is that what I heard?
If we bought a house.
Right, with too many people living in it.
Right, and say there's a family of 4 living in a tiny little place.
A whole family?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant
Yeah.
like a boarding house or rooming house.
No. And this happens. I mean, rent is going way up,
Sure.
and income's not. So we will come across a situation like that where we're going to have to relocate them in the proper size housing.
Oh, whoa. I was okay with the HUD thing.
Yeah, the HUD
For so
guideline.
much a room, that's what we were paying. Now you're going to tell me that we're going to start doing by how many people. So if I've seen people, whoever they are, where there's 10 people living in his house, there's 6 cars outside. And I can't say, well, gee, I got to make these people, I got to get them an 8-bedroom or 8-room house because they got 10 people or 10 bedrooms. I'm okay with the HUD guidelines, but I don't think it ought to go by the number of people.
Well, there's 2 different things. You're dealing with moving the items of the house, and then you're dealing with the moving of the people. You're dislocating them from their home. Now, we haven't had this happen, so I'm just telling you, we have not run
Happen
into.
tomorrow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do want to have some guidance if it does happen.
I'm okay with paying them the HUD.
I'm, Mr. Mayor, rather, Mr. Chair, like to offer a motion that we do the acquisition relocation policy using the HUD guidelines, and we stop there.
Is there a
Well-
second?
That's per rule.
Yeah.
That's moving the stuff, but what about the people?
I'm not,
Well,
that's their
I'm-
problem.
you know, once we do that, I'm just saying, you know, Vivian, I'm not trying to be funny. We're not responsible for 20 people trying to go someplace else. I'm sorry.
Excuse
They
me.
ain't supposed to be there to start with.
That's right.
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Common
that
sense.
wasn't part of this, though, the first, last, and security we were talking about
Right.
also?
Right. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. You will then have to evict these people onto the street. Understand, you're only paying moving costs. You're not helping to pay them to live anywhere.
So what you're
We're
saying,
buying the house. They're
No,
going to
no.
have the money for
You're
whatever we
buying
pay
from the
them.
landlord. You're buying the house from the landlord that may have tenants in it. Now you want to relocate the tenants. That's what I'm talking about, tenants.
Does the HUD guidelines include the first, last, and security?
No, that's what I'm recommending. that
Oh,
we
okay,
do.
then add that in there and let's move.
Right, okay.
Move per room and the first, second, and security.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Not by how many people.
No.
We're taking the
No,
numbers
no,
out of
no,
the equation,
no.
correct?
And I'm not paying by person, but I'm saying you got to relocate them into a home that fits them instead of.
No,
Wait a minute, time
you're
out.
you're sending us the wrong way.
I think you are.
Yeah,
May I
you
say
are.
something, Mayor?
Go ahead.
I think what you're doing, you're making it more complex than it is.
Okay.
I think the idea someone owns a home, you buy the home, that individual, if he owns the home, you said he may be renting, okay? In the lease, doesn't it say how many people are living in that home?
Not
Not
always.
necessarily?
No,
No.
you're making it worse too.
I retreat. I'll retreat.
No,
HUD guidelines, first, last, and security.
right.
Okay. And no matter if there's 10 people, 20 people,
That's
we'll
right.
we'll give them per room. We're not in a relocation
No.
witness
Goodness.
protection program or anything like that. This is what we're going to give you. You've got 5, 6 rooms to move. We're going to pay you X amount of dollars for those rooms, give you the first, second, and security deposit, and you have a nice day.
That's
But
it.
I agree with
But, okay, but you're saying first,
First,
last,
last,
and security for a like amount of room.
Comparable.
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 Yes.
Comparable.
Right, comparable
Yes.
amount of rooms,
Right.
yeah. not-
Yeah, yeah. We're not going from a 6-room to a 12-room house or anything like that.
Right.
Okay,
Right,
I'm
right.
okay.
I don't think we have any of those.
Well,
Oh, wait. I got a motion and a second as stated. All in fa-
Will you repeat the motion?
My motion is that we use the relocation guidelines using the HUD guidelines, which will include also first, last, and security.
For
Or a comparable size.
Or comparables, right.
Barrel size. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Show the motion unanimous. Good. Okay.
And we-
Inspector Director's report?
We have 8 new businesses in the CRA. If listed, you can look at them.
Any questions there? Item B, property acquisition report. Tells you all the properties they acquired. And development projects update. Tells us about the different projects that are ongoing. Any questions on those? You had
Any
something else?
questions on that?
Go ahead.
I just,
Wait a minute. Go ahead.
just before you make a statement, I'm really concerned about the holistic dog center that's going up. We talked about it. It seems to be going very, very slow. Not really, the contractor doesn't seem to be really committed to this particular project. And we've got money now involved in this. Do we have a timeline for them, or is it just haphazard?
They can only draw our money down if they spend our money. Remember, if they spend their money, they can only get our money that way.
Right.
So that's somewhat of a protection. But I did go by today, and it looked like they'd done quite a bit of work. They're not that far off. They got to put the roof. It's got the tar on it, the tar paper. The windows are in, so it's not that far off. It's gotten a lot better than it was. So they got to do some landscaping. I'd say it looks like if they put
Okay.
some mojo, or maybe a month, you
All right,
know?
I'll go on your recommendation.
So,
Okay.
but I don't, again, I don't control other people's projects, you know?
Mr. Merker?
Yes, I'd like to say something, and I think it's important. It has nothing to do with any of us on the board here or on the commission. It's not a personal statement. It's a personal statement of a citizen attacking and abusing someone. Previously, Mr. Katz stood up here, and he's good at that, and I have broad shoulders. And in the good old days, I would love to have gone in a ring with him one-on-one. He has this habit of hurting people. It's a sickness. He hurt someone tonight, and it's none of us on the board. It's a reporter. And though she's upset because I'm saying this, I'm sorry. He asked her to go outside. She came back with tears in her eyes. Okay? This woman, I think we all think, I've been attacked or written about when I did bad things or good things, just like all of us. But when a person stands up and abuses another citizen, I'll use a word. It's a simple word. It's in the dictionary. So it can't be all bad, now could it? The word is scum. A low, worthless, or evil person. The idea that this person could attack someone who's doing their job, abuse someone who's doing their job, to me is unheard of. What he says to myself, I can't speak for any of you, but I find that offensive and distasteful. And I feel very strongly that if this person, I'll be nice and use that word, comes up and attacks a citizen, forget us, I would like him silenced, taken out. We are not here to abuse one another. We're there to be with one another and help one another and understand what's written. That's what learning's all about. And this man is distasteful. And I hope the rest of the board and the commission understands what I just said. It's not me. It's that he could do a citizen, a person who's doing their job, and let him talk. And of course he ran out like a coward. That's what I call pure scum, and it's in the dictionary.
Moving on to the notice of a special city commission meeting tonight. The first, we adjourn as the CRA.
May I?